While dealing with patterns, the most important thing what we have to know is the patterns are not about memorizing outputs. They are about identifying rows, columns and conditions. Every pattern problem can be broken into number of rows, columns and what to print in each cell. By end of this video, you will get some good confidence on how to solve these pattern problems. So there is one requirement that we have to print one asterisk to the console. How we can print that? By placing an asterisk, that is star, in print statement, right? So this is how we can print the asterisk. Now we have to print 5 stars separated with white space. How we can print that? So this is how we print 5 stars separated with white space. And now we have to print n stars. So if the n value is 3, we have to print 3 stars. How we can achieve this? Using the for loop, right? Int I is equals to 1, I less than or equal to n, I plus plus. And in println statement, we have to place only 1 star. So we are getting 3 stars in the console, but I need in same row. So remove this println statement and make it as print. So now I got 3 stars. Now let me give a space here. Now we will change 3 to some 10. So we got 10 stars. Now the requirement is again changed. That is, we have to print same number of stars but for n number of rows. So what we can do? Within the loop, we have to write another loop. Int j is equals to 1, j less than equal to n, j plus plus. Now let me run this. We got these stars, but I need 10 stars in 10 rows. That is, in one row I need 10 stars. I have to print only 10 stars. So how I can do that? After printing this loop, after completing this loop, I have to print new line. System.out.println. So here I got 10 stars. So this is how the square pattern looks. Now let me explain how these patterns are printing. So let's understand with some small example. So here the index values are 0, 1, 2, 3, or you can say 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are number of rows. So now what are the index values for these columns? 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what are these? These are columns. Now let's understand how to print this square pattern. How we are going to print these stars? For one line, what is the statement we returned? For int I is equals to 1, I less than or equal to 4, I plus plus. So this loop will run for 4 times. So what is the statement? System.out.print. If I use println, it will print each star in new line, right? So to avoid that, I am using print method, which will print the stars in same line, and it is separated with white space. To print this first line, I return this statement. Now I have to print the same line for 4 times. So this statement is for only first row. I want to print the exact statement for another 3 rows. So how I can do that? Placing this in another loop. For int row is equals to 1, row less than or equals to 4, because I need 4 rows, and row plus plus. I will keep this statement inside this one, and this is how it looks. So this, what is this I? This is nothing but column. So here initially the column value is, the row value is 1 and column value is 1. So it is representing this one. And after printing star for the first time, it will increment the column value to 2. Now it will comes here and then here and then here. After that, it has to print or go to new line. How we can do that? System.out.println. So this statement will print 4 stars in each row. and after printing each row, this statement will print new line. And after that, same. The first row is completed, after that the row is increased, and here the row value is 2. So to avoid confusion, I will make the same thing for int column is equals to 1, column less than or equal to 4, column plus plus. In that I will print system.out.print star. Now what it will print? The 4 stars will be printed in one line. Now I want to repeat the same thing for 4 lines. So I will use another loop into row is equals to 1, row less than equal to 4, and again row plus plus. Close the for loop. This is inner for loop and this is outer for loop. Now if you see, I am not getting the stars in 4 rows. In one row the all stars are printing. So to avoid that, after printing these 4 stars in each row, I will print a new line, system.out.println, or you can use print of new line character. So this is fine now. Now move to the next one. While printing the square pattern, what is the condition? If my n value is 2, I need to print total 4 stars. That is, in each row I need to print 2 stars, right? The condition is row less than or equals to 4 and column also less than or equals to 4. So this is how we print the square pattern. And coming to the triangle pattern, how we can print that? So here also we are having 4 rows, 4 columns. So this is right angle triangle. In this also we are having 4 rows and 4 columns. But here one more condition is required, that is, in first row I need to print 1 star, and in second row 2 stars, third row 3 stars. Now coming to the star pattern, what is the condition? The additional condition, in each row the number of columns are equal to the number of rows. For the square pattern also we are having 4 rows, 4 columns, and coming to the triangle pattern also we are having 4 rows, 4 columns, but one additional condition is required to make this triangle pattern. So let me code that. For int row is equals to 1 and row less than or equals to n, that is here 4, row plus plus. Now how many columns we are having? N columns, right? Int column is equals to 1, column less than or equals to 4, column plus plus. Now system.out.print star with space and close the column loop, and after that we have to print the new line, right? Okay, now this is same as square pattern. There is no difference between these two patterns, these two codes. Now we have to make the difference. So let me copy this code and run here. So this is exactly same, right? But we have to make this as triangle pattern. How we can make that? Before this printing statement, we have to write the condition. What is the condition here? The row number is not greater than the column number, right? In first row, the row number and column number are equal. In second row and in this cell, the column value is 1 and here the column value is 2, but the row value is 2. Apply the same rule for the third row also. In third row, we are having column 1, column 2 and column 3, but in column 4 we are not having anything. So what the condition will be? If the column value is greater than the row value, we should not print anything. If the column value is lesser than the row value, we have to print the star, and we can say lesser than or equal to the row value. So the condition is if row is greater than or equal to the column value, then print the star. Now apply the same condition and run the code here. Now is that working? Yes. Now let's make some small modification. So instead of writing this condition here, I will write the condition here itself. If column value is, or we can say same condition, row greater than or equal to column. Comment this. We can also make column lesser than or equal to row value. It will also work. Or we can make row greater than or equal to column. This will also work. So this is how we print the triangle pattern. Now move to the next pattern. So what is the pattern here? Here also the same number of rows and columns, right? But the difference is here we are starting with 1 star and ending with n value, that is 4. But here in this triangle, this is like inverted triangle, right? Now how you can write the code? So before writing the code, understand the pattern and what's the condition and apply the same condition for each row and column, whether it is satisfying or not. Instead of making this column values as 1, 2, 3, 4, I will make this column as 4 and this is 3, 2, 1. Is that fine? So what's the difference I am making here? Let me copy the same code here. What's the difference? I am starting the column value with 4. And what's the condition? So it is decreasing, right? Starting with 4, 3, 2, 1. So here also we have to decrease the column value. Okay, it is fine. Now, what is the condition? If it is first row, we are ending at first column. Now, if it is second row, we are ending at second column. And at third row, we are ending at third column. And at fourth row, we are ending at fourth column. Right? Now, what's the condition we can make out of this? If row value is greater than or equal to the column value. If you see here, what is the column value here? 3. 3 is greater than 4? No, it is not greater than 4. So, we are not required to print star. So, let me write the condition here. If row value is lesser than or equal to the column value. Is that correct? Here the row value is 2, the column value is 1. Now 2 is lesser than or equal to 1, condition false. So it will not print the star. Now apply the same condition. Row value is lesser than or equal to. So this is how we can print the inverted triangle. Now write the condition here. Row lesser than equal to column. Stop. What is the mistake we have done here? I think this is clear. And coming to the numbers pattern. So in this also same number of columns and same number of rows, right? Here also the same star pattern here we followed. But what is the difference? Instead of printing star, we have to print the numbers. So how we can print that? If we observe these numbers, what are these numbers? These are nothing but column numbers, right? So instead of printing star, we have to print the column value and separate it with white space. Let's try the same in the code. Let me copy the code. Now, what's the difference? Instead of printing star, we have to print column, right? So is this fine? There is nothing change in star pattern and number pattern, but instead of printing stars, we have to print the column values. So moving to the next one, it is triangle pattern but with characters. So what is the ASCII value for this A value? If it is small a, the value is 97, and for capital A 65. So how we can make that? Instead of printing these column values, we have to print the character values. So let me take one character value. Char ch is equals to 65. So before that, let me check the character value. So at 65 we are having capital A. Now what I will do here is character plus column value. Here the character value is, let me make this 64. So 64 plus 1, it is 65. But keep this in mind, when we are adding two variables, here one is character and another is integer value. Now what's the bigger in size? Integer, right? Now the resulting data type is also integer type. It is no more character. So let me run the code. At first we are printing the 64 character, which is at the rate. But after that 64 plus 1, that is 65. It is no more capital A or at the rate. It is integer. So to avoid that, I will increment this character value, right? And I will make this as 65 because at this statement it will increment the value after completing this statement, right? You can see here it is not the expected one. I need A, AB, ABC, ABCD. At each time it is resetting the value to A. After moving to the new line, I will make ch to 65. So let me run the code. Now we are getting the expected one and wipe this statement also. So this is how we gonna print the patterns. And moving to the next pattern, here also the same thing, that is number of rows are equal, but it is mirrored pattern, right? Mirrored right angle triangle. What's the condition? So the same number of rows, same number of columns. Now what is the condition coming into your mind? If row value is lesser than or equal to the column value, if the row value is greater than or equal to the column value, then it has to print the star. If not, it has to print white spaces. If you are not printing any white spaces, you will not get the mirrored triangle. So here we need two printing statements. Let me copy the same code here. So what is the condition? If row value is greater than or equal to the column value. Now what are the changes required in the code? Go back, column value less than or equal to 4. Now what is the condition? If row greater than or equal to the column value, then print the star, right? Here column should be greater than or equal to 1. So that's the reason we are getting infinite loop. We are getting same number of stars, but read the else statement here. Else, what it has to print? White space. If you see here, we are getting a equal to triangle pattern, but we need a mirrored right angle triangle. This is why, because after printing each star, we are printing one white space. So if we print the same white space here, or if we remove this white space, we will get the mirrored right angle triangle pattern, right? If you are making space here, you have to keep one more space in that. So this is how the mirror triangle pattern works. Now moving to the next one, this is a combination of numbers and stars. Now if you observe this pattern, it is like equilateral triangle, but instead of making white spaces, it is printing star. Let's print this equilateral triangle pattern with numbers. So how we can write the code for that? So let me remove this one. For int number of rows starting with 1, row less than or equals to n, or we can say 4, and row plus plus. Now if you observe the columns, in first row we are having 7 columns, right? And to print the numbers, for int column is equals to 1 and column is lesser than or equals to row, column plus plus, system dot out dot print, you have to print the column value. After printing each row, you have to move to the next line. So we are getting right angle triangle pattern. Now let's separate these numbers with star. How we can do that? If you make like this, let me show. At first row also we are getting star, but we don't require that one. At ending the star is not required, but between these numbers we have to print the star. So again we have to write one condition. If column value equal to 1, then print just that column value. Else, if it is not equal to 1, then it has to print the star. So in between these numbers we are printing star. And now our task is to make this as equilateral triangle. How we can make that? In each row we have to print white spaces before these numbers. If you observe here, in the first row we are having 3 white spaces, and in second row 2 white spaces. Now write the condition for this. What is the n value? The total number of rows are 4, right? So if my rows are n, then at first row we have to print n minus 1 spaces is equals to 3, and in second row we are having 2, and in third row we are having 1 white space. We can say at first we are having n minus 1, and again here it is n minus 2, right? If you use decrement operator, that is pre-decrement, minus minus n, so it will work. At first we will have 3 and then 2 and then 1. So let's check it with the code. To print the white space, we have to take another loop for int space is equals to n minus 1 because it is starting with n minus 1, and the condition for space is should be greater than or equal to 1 space minus minus, and after that we have to print white space system.out.print one white space. So let me make this n as 4. We are getting white space, but for each row we are getting 4 white spaces. So we have to update the condition. Here it is starting with n minus 1, and here starting with n minus 2, and here n minus 3. So we can update the condition like n minus row. Instead of n minus 1, we have to make it as n minus row, because after completing each row the n value is not changing. Because of that reason we are getting 4 white spaces in each row. So by making this n minus row, at each row the row value is incremented and we will achieve this one, n minus 1, n minus 2. So this is how we will print this combination pattern and along with equilateral triangle, and instead of stars we have to print numbers separated with stars. If you observe these last two patterns, I have used two different approaches. Here I printed the white spaces based on the n value and row number, but if you see here, I printed these white spaces based on the column and row, but here I have used different approach and here I have used different approach. So for each pattern or we can say for each problem there are n number of approaches. So there is no particular approach for the pattern. For same pattern there are n number of approaches, but our code must print the pattern given to us. And if you are having any doubts, let me know through the comments so that I can plan a video based on the comments.